So, how did you come up with the idea for this film?
So most of my films, or I should say all of my films, I really usually think of landscape as the sort of first idea that I build out. And I'm often thinking about landscape not only in terms of how it exists in real life, but especially how it resonates within the history of cinema. So I've often looked at, the California desert, for instance, that is a very highly cinematized landscape, but many other types. And this one too, often brings up other films in people's minds. So in a way that was almost more interesting to me than the history of the landscape itself. Although I have to say, I was also very intrigued by the fact that the rocks in this landscape are some of the oldest in the world. So it really has geological age, and also the way the landscape sits. The constructions, the human-made constructions sit in relation to these boulders. It's sort of integrated, right? So we have a sense of like a kind of collapsing of human and nature and human as somehow proximate, and this felt like an interesting point to explore. Yeah.
And about the place you portrayed in the film, what meaning does it have for you?
Well, actually, I had always meant to go there. I had not been. It's in the southwest part of India, and but I went there actually just before the pandemic, just to look. And I was thinking I'll make this film, and then the world turned upside down. And then I made the film really after the pandemic. So it was kind of interesting. I had there was this sort of sense of like, oh yeah, I want to go back, and I had to wait. So I don't know if that anticipation makes its way into the film in some way, but there was this sort of strange gap between the first time I saw it and when I went back to shoot it.
Now a question about the absence of human being in the landscape. There's no human being, but there are monkeys in the movie, and they are in the ruins of an ancient city and culture, a human culture. So is it a way to redo things all over again in a better way?
Yeah, that's a really great question, right? Because I have made one film with humans in it, and I'm working on another project with humans in it. But most of my projects don't have human figures. Sometimes they don't even have animals. So this one, of course, has animals in it. But of course, the discourse in a way is about humans. Right, and especially I play a lot with cinematic narrative conventions, like shot reverse shot, or some of these kinds of ways of arranging film shots that suggest the presence of humans, or suggest maybe dialogue, or the point of view, things like this. So I try to keep the humans out of the frame, but really close to the edge. And in terms of what kind of aspiration I have for a film like this, I mean, for me to create this kind of timeless landscape that we don't know if it's the past or the future, is this post-human or pre-human? I feel like my goal is really to sort of provide a kind of cinematic experience in which I hope that humans, or us, as we bring ourselves to this kind of collective space, that we might have a chance to reflect on our own relationship to this planet. And so that is it. I mean, I don't know. I make small little films, so I feel I should be careful not to make very tall claims. But in a way, I also don't mind, because I feel because these films are in relationship to cinema itself. I feel like even if they're small films, they are in relation to the whole production. So in their own ways, I like to think of them as epic.